Warriors and Guardians of Christ's Kingdom here on Earth, welcome back to Guardian Mo's back online. I hope you're enjoying this hot and sweaty heat wave that we're having, if there's anything to enjoy about it. But anyways, I'm just going to crack on with the video. So I'm going to talk about the state of the UK, this bloody mess that this country is in relation to the way that the judicial system and our authorities punish criminals, the way that they handle the punishment of perpetrators committing all sorts of crimes, the most severe crimes, in fact. It seems like we're living in a very topsy-turvy society. It just seems like the more severe your crime is, the nature of your crime is, the less punishment you get. You know, I just don't feel like, from the way that I'm observing things, I don't feel like the judicial system, the authorities, the police, are really cracking down on knife crime, machete wielders, people who commit sexual assault, paedophiles, rapists. They just all seem to get away with it. And for the longest time I've been thinking about it, like, what is going on? What is causing this? I've only been politically involved in this project, in this YouTube channel of mine, and being involved with Tommy Robinson for around about a year now. And I just want to take it back to the first political video that Paul Thorpe made on his channel. He was talking about a report that was being discussed on LBC. They were discussing like this teenager who got stabbed by a mob of young men. His mother was recounting the story. Like, he got attacked by these thugs, thrusting a knife at him. I'm not sure if he's alive or not. But there was only one of them who got caught. And do you know what his punishment was? All he had to do was pay a £50 fine and write a letter of apology. And he was scot-free. I just couldn't believe it the first time I heard it. I mean, even Paul Thorpe was absolutely shocked to death about what he had just heard. You know, I'm hearing it left, right and centre. Knife wielders, people thrusting their knives at people, swiping machetes at people, paedophiles, rapists, people from a certain demographic especially. They get less than £100 fines, they have to write letters of apology, and they get released. Back onto the streets they go. You know, there was Chloe Dobbs on her Reason YouTube channel. She was talking about this a few months ago. There was a guy, like a stabber. He was released. All he had to do was, you know, pay the fine, pay a penalty of £60. The stabber in Plymouth. Disgusting. Whereas people who post hurty words on Facebook, on social media, they get jailed up, locked up for 3 years for inciting violence, inciting hatred. People like Lucy Connolly, sentenced for 3 years for talking about burning hotels, housing illegal migrants. And then she deleted it, but they're still in prison. Peter Lynch, most notably, holding up placards, criticising the government. And he gets locked up, banged up for 2 years. And obviously he commits suicide. Where is the fairness in our judicial system? I just don't get how these people get away with it. Yet people who commit petty crimes, like posting hurty words, get sentenced for a longer period. I mean, even from my personal account, I get £60 fined, taken out of my pocket for PCN charges, for traffic violations, for all sorts of traffic violations I've made when I was living in London. Wrongful U-turns, driving on a bus lane. I either get £60 or £90 for it. I got £90 penalty a few months ago for violating a motorway sign. I either had to pay £100 and get 3 points on my licence, penalty points, or I could just pay £90 for a course that I literally had to spend 3 hours on. Obviously, I took this choice of paying £90 for that course. So 3 hours on that course, I had to pay £90 for it. Yet someone goes scot-free for committing sexual assault, for committing rape, for thrusting the knife into someone, as long as they pay that £60 fine and write that letter of apology. What is going on in our country? It just shows, it just demonstrates as plain as day that our politicians are most definitely involved in this cover-up. This two-tier policing, two-tier judicial system that's been going on for a long time. The police are in on it, the government are in on it, our councils are in on it. Well, they're either in on it or they're just neglecting the whole issue out of fear, out of cowardice. Our politicians are involved in a massive cover-up of the Southport incident, of many incidents that have occurred over the years at the hands of a certain demographic, and they just don't want us to know about it. They don't want the general public to make a fuss about it. I mean, recently we had that spat in the Houses of Parliament between Jess Phillips, or as I like to call her Jess Thicklips, when Lee Anderson stood up and asked her a challenging question. You know, are you involved in the cover-up, Jess?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thousands of young, white, British working-class girls have been raped, tortured and abused by Pakistani grooming gangs, and yet this minister here refuses to support a full national public inquiry. And what I want to know is, Mr. Speaker, is she part of the cover-up?
It really doesn't. It doesn't deserve a response, and I actually quite like the honourable gentleman. I have spent my entire career helping. I wonder how many victims he has sat and held hands with in court of grooming gangs. How many he's gone round to their house in the morning to get them out of bed, to get them into a courtroom. There is absolutely no way that I would be part of any cover-up. I will do everything I can under a Home Secretary who will do everything she can to make sure that those who are responsible are held accountable.
You know, your actions don't really match up with your words. When Jess proclaims that she's been doing all she can to tackle sexual assault of young innocent girls at the hands of Pakistani grooming gangs over a long period of time, over 30 years it has been. I mean, talk is cheap. If you can't take action and match your actions with your words and make them commensurate with words that are coming out of your mouth, then that just tells the general public all they need to know. I mean, Oldham Council came out and called for a national inquiry. They were pleading the government to implement and push for a public national inquiry. And Jess Thicklips, she wouldn't even meet with Oldham councillors, with the team, to even discuss the matter. This just goes to show that our politicians just simply don't care. They're covering this up. Obviously, they won't do a thing about it because they're getting a high salary anyways. They're getting 6 figures for the pathetic job that they do. I mean, and Jess Thicklips, she's been very consistent with her inaction and apathy towards young innocent girls, towards this whole, you know, victimization of girls as a result of sexual assault, of rape, of paedophilia. All those years ago in 2016, she was comparing the Cologne incident. A group of women were mass molested by a group of men of a certain demographic. That happened in 2016. And she was coming on a panel and comparing this incident to just an ordinary Saturday night in Birmingham.
There is violence against women and girls that you are describing. A very similar situation to what happened in Cologne could be described on Broad Street in Birmingham every week, where women are baited and heckled.
This lady is supposed to be our safeguarding minister. I'd like to think she's a self-guarding minister. All she cares about is herself. Everything revolves around her. She likes to play the victim card of how much verbal abuse and social media abuse that's been thrown her way, when she's done all she can to protect the well-being of young girls and women. What a disgusting politician she is. These politicians have blood on their hands. All of the political prisoners, including Tommy Robinson, whatever blood that has been shed, whatever suicide has been committed along the same veins as Peter Lynch, torture, solitary confinement, the amount of suffering, the amount of pain, the amount of betrayal that people have felt, people being arrested, lumped in together with the rioters, simply for voicing their concerns for their communities, for their children, after the Southport incident. This is what our politicians are doing. They are trying to cover up the root cause of this mass paedophilia, mass sexual assault and continued organized, highly organized crime unit, Pakistani grooming gangs, who are targeting white British communities. The politicians are covering this up. You know, people need to continue to speak up about this on whatever social media, especially on Twitter X. You know, there's only a handful of social media platforms that properly advocate for freedom of speech, and YouTube, it definitely isn't one of them. And we need to continue to call these politicians out, to call the authorities out for failing to take action. That's all I have to say, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. I've had to ramble on and on about it, but yeah, this is a very concerning issue for me. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Guardian Mo's clocking out. I'll see you next time.